I'm David Petersen, here with another mouse guard architectural model. In this case, it's the Gatehouse to Seyan. Seyan is kind of the afterlife. It's the Valhalla of the mouse guard world, and this building was featured in the story Service to Seyan, which is available in the Mouse Guard Baldwin the Brave and Other Tales collection. Now, normally when I'm building a model, there are a couple reasons for doing it, and one of which is to help me design the space, to help figure out what this thing is going to look like from scratch. I don't like drawing out locations in advance usually. And building it in 3 dimensions really helps me figure out what this whole thing is going to look like in 3 dimensions all at once. But in this case, I had actually drawn this location for that story. I had drawn it for what would be the cover of the story. And so it wasn't until I had to start drawing pages and realized that this was going to feature very prominently as the background to almost every panel that I decided I should just go ahead and make a model. So this one was strictly for the purpose of reference drawing, which is also very valuable. But it's one of the rare cases where I wasn't using it solely, or I wasn't using it in tandem, both as a design project and a reference project. Now it looks kind of like a complex model, but rest assured, this is a pretty simple one, other than the surface, which I think is true for most models, or most of my models at least. It's modular and comes completely apart. That's for a couple reasons. It's easier to build it that way. It's also easier to store it, transport it that way, and if I ever need the reference where a part of the model is in the way, if I needed to look at it this way without this piece in the way over the back of it, I can do that by just removing this piece. Making models modular has helped me a lot in the past, getting walls and roofs and things like that out of the way. The base of this is a cardboard mailing tube, one like this. I cut it with a handsaw and then used a hobby knife to cut out this arched door. I then skinned it with a piece of paper, which I glued on with like a spray adhesive. Now this one has kind of stair-stepped, staggered depths on it. It doesn't just go from the paper towel tube or the mailing tube surface to this outer rim. There are a couple stair steps. All of those are pieces of chipboard that I curved and glued around. Now chipboard is what the back of sketch pads and Bristol pads are made of. It's this kind of brown, slightly thicker, dense paper. Whenever I finish with a sketchbook pad or a Bristol pad, I tear off the cover and keep just this brown part and keep it over in storage for expressly this purpose of model making. So all of these stair steps are that paper that's been curved, either by curling it like you would a ribbon with a pair of scissors, or just over the edge of a desk, just rocking it back and forth slowly. It's glued on with probably something like super glue, although sometimes it's hot melt glue. I did a little paper skinning of getting a repetitious pattern going, spraying that on with a spray adhesive. All of the shingles are made of chipboard as well. Now I cut those all out with scissors or some kind of nippers, I think, and then just glued them on as you would shingles. You start with the bottom row and then you go to the next row up and overlap until you get to the very top. The very top, the point of this, is a sheet of Bristol paper, Bristol board, that I curled into a cone shape and glued a ball bearing, a steel ball bearing, onto the top of. With the printed out material, I had a gate that I liked the design of, so I just made sure that the scale was right, kind of measured the width of my opening in Photoshop, scaled it to what I needed to be, and printed it out so that I could glue it into that space and make it make sense. The bridge here is also a printout skin. This is just a tile pattern that I found on Google image search. I didn't even draw the grid myself. I just found it on Google image search, printed it out on a sheet of paper, and then conformed it to this shape. Now to get this shape, the walkway itself is Bristol again, but to give it the hump inside of this is a piece of cardboard or chipboard, I can't remember which, that's cut to that arc. To get the shape of that arc, instead of using like a compass or something like that, I just used a CD. This is something that I do all the time. Instead of using a compass to measure out a circle, to measure out a diameter, I just use objects around the house that are already circular. So CDs, bowls, soda cans, cups, whatever's around, and you just get as close as you can. It's not precise. It's not CAD engineering here. This is kind of slapdash model making, and then I adjust all the proportions because of that. Because of this, I can have this awesome grid pattern that goes over a kind of complex form, a complex hump, which isn't the easiest thing to just draw from memory without drawing a whole lot of perspective lines. So once I have this model done, it allows me to rotate it around, to get on top of it, to get underneath it, to get on the side of it, and take lots of reference photos. I can take photos and even kind of look through it almost like you would through a viewfinder if you were framing a movie. I'm framing a paper movie. I'm trying to figure out which kind of shots are going to make the best framing for that next scene, that next panel, whatever's going on in it, where the characters have to be, how much dialogue is in that scene. By having the location and being able to move myself around that environment really helps make me, I think, tell better stories. So that's the Seyan Gatehouse model. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you.